Hello everyone. So today we'll be discussing the high availability of the Cosmos DB. So before that, let's try to understand what exactly is the high availability. What do you mean by high availability of a particular infrastructure that you are going to set up on the cloud? So high availability, it's basically the quality of a system or the component that assures a high level of operational performance for a given period of time. That means you might have seen in certain cases, certain services wherein you would have seen that the particular service is highly available, like it's the availability is 99.99% or 99%, 98%, and so on. So this high availability is basically expressed as a percentage, indicating how much uptime is expected from a particular system. Now, the question is when this high availability architecture or high availability infrastructure is important. So this is important when you are setting up any robust production systems, wherein downtime is very important. That it should be as minimum as possible, and service interruption is very critical. That means this production system cannot afford to have higher downtime or service interruption is very important. So this is where we need to have this high availability architecture in place. So now the question is, this is when we need to have the high availability. Now, what makes a system high available? The basic principles of high availability system is like we have to try to remove or eliminate any single point of failures in your infrastructure design. So if any point of time that particular infrastructure is offline, the service is completely interrupted, and there is no way that you can uh, build something within a seconds or some within a minute or so. So this is where you need to consider the basic principle that you have to remove any single point of failure. And this is how you may want to have your redundant services in place, wherein if something goes wrong and one single point is having some failure, another uh, another one is being invoked as soon as possible. So this is how we really build a high available infrastructure. Now, in terms of let's come back to the Cosmos DB. In terms of the Cosmos DB deployment, there are the two way of deployment. One is the single region, where you can build Cosmos DB infrastructure on a single region. But yes, we have the options to choose a different availability zone as well. Now, what exactly is the availability zone? Let's take a look at the documentation, what it says about the availability zone. It says availability zones are the physical separate locations within an Azure region. Each availability zone is made up of one or more data centers equipped with the independent power, cooling, and networking. If you take a look at this diagram, which is there in the PPT that I have taken it from Azure web documentation, you see if we are going to build mm, we are going to deploy this Cosmos DB in a single region, we have the two options. Either we can have the replications to other availability zone also, or we can keep it on a single availability zone. So what happens, let's suppose you have done a single deployment wherein we have we have not selected the availability zone replications, and that particular availability zone itself is not available, or some failure has happened. In that case, your entire the Cosmos DB will be completely offline. But if you choose to have multi available availability zone deployment, where you can set up though within a single region you can do the deployment for the uh, mm, multiple availability zone. Then if in case one of the availability zone is not available, that uh, but in that case, since you have done the replications, you have did the replications of the data to other availability zone, it will be available to you. It will be complete failure only when the entire region as a whole has gone completely offline. So that's the that is about the single region deployment. In case of the multi-region deployment, what you do, there are the further two more options. In the multi-region deployment, you can have single write. That means your application will be writing to only one region. Rest of the regions will hold the replica. Or you can have the multiple regions out of certain set of region. You have chosen 2 to 3 regions to have the read and write both capability, but rest of the regions will hold only the read replica. So this is the multi-region deployment. Now let's take a look how does look into the Cosmos DB. Here you can see this. There is options for this geo redundancy. That means you can enable it. It's a multi-region, right? Now you can see that there is no way that you can have the availability zone setup. Actually, it's the availability zone, multi availability zone deployment is possible. It is not available in all the regions, but if you take the Australian East region, you will see that there's a availability zone available. You can enable it. So in combination of the multi-region along with the availability zone deployment, you can increase your availability of your infrastructure. So this is all about this the deployment mode. So let's go into, if you take a look in this diagram, this is again taken from the Azure document. So you can see there's a highly available multi-regions. There is a one cost, and within the regions, they have the data replications happening. So in the previous slide or the previous videos, I have mentioned how this multi-region deployment or what is the consistency level is, why it is important. So this is where when we're talking about the data replications from one place to another, this is where the consistency level matters a lot. So this is one example of the high availability with a multi-region. Now Cosmos DB. Now let's take certain cases wherein what happens if complete the region outage is there. What happens if the region that you are chosen as a write that goes offline, or what if the region that you have chosen for the read replica that goes offline? What will happen in those cases? So now let's take a look at all these region outage. What happens? So basically, the write operation is acknowledged to the client only when data is durably committed by the quorum of replicas within a region. That means uh, whatever the write operation is happening, unless or until it is completely committed by the replicas within a single region, it will not be acknowledged to the client. Now, in case of the single region deployment, may lose availability. As I said, if the entire region is down, then definitely there is no way that you can have this service up and running. In case of the multi-region, in region outage case, failover can happen automatically for Cosmos DB if configured. So in case of the failover scenario where we have the multi-region deployment, there is a two option that you can either go for the manual failover, or you can go for the automatic failover. In case of the automatic failover, you have to choose the region or prioritize the region which will be taken as in case of the failover happens. So let's take the example of the region outage, multi-region account with a single write region. Let's suppose we have created multi-region accounts, and the right region that we have chosen that goes down. What will happen? In that case, it will automatically promote the secondary region to be the new primary write region when enable automatic failover is configured. So let's suppose you have configured some, the Australia East regions, and you have configured write region as a Singapore or India, and you have given the sequence like in case this Australia East region goes down, the first priority will be the Singapore region, another priority will be some other region. So automatic failover will happen automatically. Automatic failover will uh, pick up this Singapore region as the primary write region, and this is how it will start working. Now, once the previously impacted region recovers, it becomes automatically available as a read region. Now, what happens if the failure has happened to the Australia East region and we have invoked a Singapore region as the primary region? And when this Australia East regions recovers, it will not be replaced with the right region. It will be taken as a read region itself. Our primary region, right region, will continue to be the Singapore region. In case you want that to be reverted back to the Australia region, which was configured as earlier one before failover, then you can do a manual failover, wherein you can just take this Australia East region as a your primary right region. Multi-region accounts with a single right region. Read regions outage is there. Let's suppose we have created one Cosmos DB account with some A region and CDE as read region. So any of the CDE region, if anything is impacted, if there is any issue outage with those read region, it will automatically get disconnected and will be marked offline. Read call is directed to the preferred region for it. Let's suppose B, C, D, E, there are the four more read regions. Somehow the B region has gone down. So all the calls, all the connections coming to the B will be disconnected, and it will be start pointing to some C, D, or E, which is the preferred region that we have chosen. If there is a no such preferred list, then it will fall back to the right region for the read operation. But in case you have not selected um, uh, any preferred read region, it will start pointing to the region A, which is the right region. So no change in all these things will be happening automatically. We don't have to do any changes or any kind of switching activity. Now, in case of the region recovery, read will automatically redirect it to the recovered region. Let's suppose again the region B has recovered. Now, earlier it was pointing to either some other read region or the right region. Now it will start. It will automatically start pointing to the region B, which has just recovered. So this is the scenario how we have the multi regions with the single right region. Now, another scenario is what is the now the Cosmos DB high availability guidelines? What is the guidelines that normally we do for it? First of all, I was discuss in the very first slide that we need to identify a single point of failure. We have to configure our Cosmos account to span at least two regions with multiple right regions. In this case, let's suppose any region goes down, a right region has gone down, so at least it will pick up any other right region. With a single right region, enable automatic failover by using Azure CLI or Azure portal. So there has to be enable automatic failover with the single right region. You have to give a due diligence to your application RTO and RPO mm, while doing any kind of manual recovery or in case of the manual recovery, you need to identify what is your recovery time objective and recovery point objective. RTO or RPO, this is basically a DR activity, the terms that is being used. So to wrap up, there is one cost involved in whenever we are choosing single region deployment and multiple region deployment. When I say that in case of the single region deployment, if you choose to have the multiple availability zone or single region with availability zone deployment, there will be the cost associated in case you set the application to different to other availability zone within that single region. But in case you're doing a multi-region deployment with availability zone option, there is no cost associated with that. So you have to remember that. So it's better to go with the a multi-region deployment along with the availability zone, And in case if you want, there is a, if you want to have your use case is something like that where you would want to have the only single region deployment, then if you are enabling the availability zone options, then in case there will be a cost associated with that to replicate the data within the availability zone in a single region. So this is something that you have to keep in mind. Okay, so that's it for now. Let me take you through what are the different things with this. As I said, this is the geo redundancy that you can want to have in more than one. You can enable it to having more than one region. There are the how you, whether you want to have the multi-region rights, that means whether you want to have the right capability built on more than one region. This is how you can enable it. Or along with the spanning across the regions, whether you want to have the availability zone enabled or not. So these are the three important the things in terms of the high availability implementation that's we need to consider. So that's it for now. So in the next lectures I would be giving uh, the practical example of how we can create this Azure Cosmos DB accounts. So that's it for now. So thanks for your time. Thank you very much.